welcome back. And before we get into the final game of the day, Chiefs versus Legacy, I do need to make a quick announcement that it'll also be the final game for the weekend. As we continue to monitor and respond to the current situation, Riot has made the decision to postpone all OPL games on Saturday, the 14th of March. That's tomorrow. So once again, Riot just want to reiterate that the health and safety of the OPL players and the cast and the crew and everyone involved in the production is the first priority. And thank you for your patience, and we'll share more info about when those games will be played and the remainder of Split 1 when we have them. So they're being postponed, they're not being cancelled at this point. So this is the final game for the weekend, and it should be a good one. But while we don't have answers about what is going to happen with those games when they will be played, we do have one right answer. All right.
It's just a bunch of signs pointing directions that aren't right.
I was like, where's all the horror faces? Where's the nightmare
Where's
fuel?
the Nick Lizard? I thought the Nick Lizard was a staple of the new opener.
It was beginning to feel like that because it was in Totally Wild, and I don't think it was in It's an Echidna, which, by the way, when I was doing the rundown for today's show, I go through and I delete everything that we did, obviously, last week, and I just come to It's an Echidna, and I'm just like, these animal facts are just dope. Gotta bring that back. So one right answer for those of you who don't know, we haven't played in a while. I give two options. There is one right answer, and we just sort of argue it out and decide which one is which. So this one, we've gone a little more, before it was like,
Tomato sauce in
the fridge or the cupboard. Obviously, the answer is the cupboard.
Of course it's the cupboard.
So stuff like that.
Do you know who sucked at this?
Bryce, because he always hedged.
He also just like had no life skills.
Oh, that's true.
He was like, "What's a cupboard or a fridge? I can't answer this question. You have to show me more details."
Yes, a cold cupboard.
Do you get the feeling that like we're just not over him leaving us?
I'm definitely
we talk
not.
about him so much. It's like
I still talk about
I
Atlas.
know he's in the chat. Like this is his daily validation.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm bitter about Atlas and Pastry Time leaving,
Yeah,
let
there
alone
you
the
go.
dude that left 2 months ago.
You're going all the way back. Okay, so our first one. Now I got all these as viewer submissions. So our first one comes in from Zane445. Socks always wet, or socks always itchy?
That's horrific.
Yeah.
Itchy.
Really?
What?
Nah, definitely socks.
You're
wet.
insane.
Isn't wet a legitimate health concern?
Nah.
Like for prolonged wet
Isn't
exposure?
itchy
Is it
always
itchy?
a concern? You'd scratch through your skin and you'd just be bleeding everywhere.
True.
You've had wet socks before, right?
I just think I would look, if I had
Well, first of all, have you ever worn a sock in your life? All I see is
No.
these skinny ankles.
There's socks hidden down here, by the way.
So you're saying that you would rather walk around with a constantly itchy foot rather than a squelching
I'm
wet
just saying that I think I would lose my feet from some kind of infection or like wet foot problems.
Interesting.
And so to keep my feet, I would.
Well,
Can I
it's-
hedge?
Yep.
If I have shoes on,
Yep.
I want wet socks.
Yep.
If I have no shoes on,
Yep.
I want itchy socks.
Why?
Because
can
if you
scratch.
walk around in someone's house and you have wet socks and you're just leaving foot smudges,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas I can probably stop myself from itching and looking like I have tinea feet. Whereas if I have shoes on, then like my shoes are just going to get a bit stinky and I just wash them every now and again.
So that's interesting. So I think that both of you are coming at this from the perspective of socks are basically replacing your feet.
Yes.
That you have to wear them all the time. Because I was like, I can just
Yeah.
take off a pair of wet socks when I walk into
Well, yeah,
someone's
the
house.
easy answer
But
is a
itchy,
pair of
itchy socks on as soon as they're on. That's no way to
Yeah.
live. Okay, cool. Chat says socks is my favorite Lee character. Wet socks make me cry. Says In Search of the Shoe. What are these weird paintings? Yeah, I know.
We're pretty good.
That's our
Hey,
art.
that was us.
Don't mock our art. Next question comes in from the Macho Gnome. There's only one right answer. Would you rather be Richard Nixon or Nick Richardson? Richard Nixon or Nick Richardson?
I know who Richard Nixon is.
Yep.
I also have no idea who Richard Nixon is, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So you know the meme of Richard Nixon, or like
What
just
was he?
like
He was the US president
US
for
president,
the
impeached.
second part of Vietnam War,
Yeah.
impeached.
impeached, Watergate scandal.
Yeah.
I am not a crook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the American people need to know if their president is a crook.
Yeah.
And I'm not a crook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
Famous
would,
liar.
Yeah, I would say he did a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
and he also is like one of the most hated people ever.
Yeah.
But I think I would still nearly rather be him than Nick Richardson. The only answer is I would rather be you.
Yeah, of course.
In fact, I try and aspire every day to be more like you
Hey, buddy,
already.
Come on. Tell me more.
If in the timeline I could be Richard Nixon and not have committed all
Oh,
the work,
you're
so like
saying,
I'm at
like-
the start of it,
Yeah, right.
then I think I would pick Richard Nixon.
But is there
then
not a fatalistic interpretation that if you became Richard Nixon, then you would not be able to help yourself? That it was part of his nature, ergo your nature.
I guess if like we're changing and I'm stuck with his nature as well, then
So
Do you
if
reckon-
you're,
does he have wet socks or itchy socks?
he's a wet
if
sock
I'm
of a human.
me, are you? If I'm
do
you,
I become?
Are you me?
That's a good question.
Because what I would do is I would teach Banjo
Yep,
to love
my son.
the you me,
Oh yeah. Wait. Yep.
the your emotional being in
Yep.
my body.
Yeah. Yep.
And then because it would be a slower transition, right? Because he would still connect with you on that emotional level.
Yep.
So then he would start thinking of me, my body, as his father. And then by the time they swapped us back,
Yep.
I would have kidnapped your son.
This is like some Mordecai's.
That's some Richard Nixon shit right there.
It's all over the show. I would aspire to be you, like you, Nick. I think by the time I'm the same age as you, hopefully I've hit puberty and I can actually grow some facial hair.
Of course.
Then I can look like you.
Yeah.
And then I'll take that seat, and
I-
then you'll be the one pressing all the buttons in production, and it'll just be like the evolution of like son and father, keeping it in the business.
I just heard in my ear, no, you won't. All right. Arkagal says, would 100% be Nick Boy just to watch people in Twitch chat getting mad about these segments? It's my favorite part of the entire broadcast is looking down and people are like, get on with the games. We're trying. They're walking in there right now. But in the meantime, Richard Nixon or Nick Richardson, deal with
Can
it.
I just explain? Like, maybe they bring it up and the viewers can read the next question. I'll explain what actually happens in between the games so we stop getting this.
Yeah, sure.
So the players leave the set. The set gets disinfected. The players are then allowed to load into custom games and check their settings are all correct, check their language is all correct, be able to have a conversation with their people.
Their new
Then everyone
peripherals?
calms down. Yeah, new peripherals get loaded in before of all of that. Then they go through this checklist and then they say they're ready and it takes 17 minutes.
That's
It's
just
the
what happens.
global standard for what happens in between the bloody games.
That's just what happens. And in the meantime, Richard Nixon or Nick Richardson. At Paper Display says, have to play games with no audio or having to play them on a 12-inch black and white CRT television.
No audio, 100%.
No audio, 24/7.
I'm such an auditory
I
person.
knew one of you would be.
I can't play like
You
if
reckon?
I throw an Ezreal Q and I can't hear the sound of it hitting the bush, I'm a bad player and will in.
Check your
100% of the
stats.
time. It's not like that's not how that works though.
you
No, that is actually how the mechanic works. Because if you hit someone, your stack goes
I'm
up by
telling you
one.
that I'm such an auditory person.
Did
that
you ever
I
play those
fail without
FPS
it.
games? You see people having a name like .mp3 at the end, and it's just like them with no game audio, just blasting music and just fragging and just having a good time.
Yep.
That used to be me, so like I just didn't care about it. And there's a lot of times where I'll just like, even in League, even when I've been playing now, I just blast music. I don't really care about what's playing in game.
This is all games, though. This is not just League.
Yeah, so
this
I-
is
I-
Control.
My
This
answer
is The Witcher.
Definitely still not the black and white CRTV.
I reckon there's. So there was an amazing. Just a quick sidebar. There was an amazing video that came out a couple of weeks ago, about how CRT televisions, because they don't have a resolution, they actually render games. You can render your game at sort of 480p basically on max settings, and they look better than a 4K display because the way they interpret resolution is different. So you can pump up the graphics as much as possible, run it through a CRT. And black and white would just make everything look cool. So I'm thinking maybe the black and white thing.
I think there's an element of like, those story-driven like RPGs that have those like great theme tracks behind them.
Yep.
And it kind of like elicits certain emotions when you have different
Like
like quests or
Doom.
whatever.
Yep.
Right?
Or
And I feel
Will-O
like
Wisps.
you'd definitely be losing out on that. I don't know, maybe you're like listening to like I'm a Barbie girl, what
See-
is you're like killing zombies. It doesn't really fit.
See, in my head, if I want a storyline, I read a book. No game is going to convey me a storyline
Yeah, sure.
better than a book can.
Yeah, sure.
I play video games purely for mechanics. I got obsessed with the Witcher game because you gifted me all 3 of them.
Yep.
I played like 5.5 hours. I'm up to like chapter 2 or something. And now I'm just reading the Witcher books because the only part of it I actually enjoyed was the story of it.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, well, I'll just consume the story the way the story was
In a
supposed to be
medium.
consumed.
Yep. No,
and
fair.
now I'm reading it. So
Fair,
I'll
fair,
100% do it with no music.
Fair. I just saw Ranger Bree says I take the 12-inch screen. That's basically a phone. I'd play on a phone. I wouldn't play without sound. There you go. Fedora the Explorer, an old favorite. With Easter stuff on sale already, Do you have a few big Easter eggs or a lot of small Easter eggs?
Always the small eggs. They taste so much better.
I just hate Easter eggs. We had this conversation last year. They're shit chocolate.
Such a piece of shit. What?
They're just shit chocolate.
But that's not what it's about. It's about the wrapping. It's about the snackable, tiny little eggs
I
in
agree.
a,
It's
in
about
a mason
killing-
jar.
and the
Killing the
Yeah,
planet.
and the hunt. The hunt.
I do. I love killing the planet with just small disposable wrappers. that
Don't
get
you
thrown
dare
out.
take some moral high ground here where this is entirely about taste for you. This is not about a renewable Easter for the Tiberi family.
I think it is.
This is all about
I
your allegiance to Big Belgian.
Big egg for me because like if I just have unlimited disposal, just small, I just keep snacking all day.
The thing with that, and like growing up, you're given a lot of options as a kid.
Yeah.
I was given a big egg and the many small eggs. I couldn't break the big egg.
Oh, yeah.
Like I felt so bad
Yeah.
that I just could not crack open a huge egg, and I would just eat small eggs.
Yeah.
Like I was so against it.
There you go.
love it.
And ironically, maybe that's why you spend so much time in the gym, because you remember little Rusty, who was so weak he couldn't even crack open a hollow egg.
I'm also a culture victory player when I play Civ games.
There you go. I once got a solid white chocolate Easter bunny. I was telling a friend this a couple of days ago. Solid white chocolate Easter bunny for Easter. Ate half of it, lost the other half, found the other half 8 months later behind a football in my cupboard. Ate the other half. Okay, we're going to get into the final game. But before we do, there's just one more question. We don't even need an answer from this, but I was just... he did want to appear on the broadcast in some capacity. So this one came in from Pabu. What would you rather... finding genuine success in your professional career or accidentally outperforming one of the legends of your field and subsequently falling off into obscurity, never to be heard from again apart from in unruly tweets nobody cares for, and just press like out of pity. So there you go. Welcome to the broadcast, Pabu. Okay, it's time to get into the final.
Everyone go pity like that tweet. Pabu obviously had a rough game.
At Pabu22, go give him a pity like. It was 2 or 3 days ago. The final game for the day, it is Chiefs versus Legacy. Legacy, a team that we expected would be rolling in here, king of the hill, top of the swamp, pie of the piper, but instead, scum. Or at least probably feeling a little knocked around and we're not expecting what was going to
Just
happen
broken
there.
the ice, mate.
Can we get the Legacy lineup to see the defeated faces of
Scum.
those players?
My God, Nick.
It's going to be Topoon in the top lane, Bavif in the jungle, Tally in the mid lane, Raze and Isles down bottom, and Jensen Go is their coach. You really know how to kick a team when they're down, don't you, Richardson? All of a sudden, Richard Nixon isn't looking so evil after all.
Well, it's true. So there you go. So Legacy looking to bounce back from the defeat that they were not expecting at the hands of PGG in Game 2. But they are going up against Chiefs, still #1 ranked team in the OPL, but no longer undefeated, Skimmy.
Yeah, no, they're not. But it's still an amazing roster as we've highlighted in the past. You know, it's Tien in the top lane, Croc is their jungler, Claire in mid, and Katsuri and Korea CK are the bot lane with Coach Seal. I think, quite honestly, I feel like they are still the favourites going into this one. I feel like Legacy, given how the matchup went last time, will have a lot of pocket picks lined up to try and shake up the mix, but I wonder if they're going to play a lot more of a slower game. Maybe it's almost the ideal situation to go up against Pentanet, where the tempo is removed a fair bit. And we kind of talked about it in the first OPL Classico, of like, you shouldn't be trying to match them on the team fight, fast-paced aggression. Try and play a little bit more slower.
See, that's why I actually think that they'll remove all the pocket picks. Because I think last time they went for the pocket picks, they went for like the Ashe Rumble bottom lane with all this weird prio and having to play around it and all this stuff. I think that we're going to see a very standard game. I think we're going to see a caster top lane because Topoon seems to be one of the last remaining people that really benefits from that. And I think that stylistically that matches up much better against the Chiefs, who are a quick team, than it does against someone like Pentanet, who's going to play tanks and grind you out. So I'd expect maybe Legacy to go back to completely standard gameplay for this time against the Chiefs.
I agree. I think that even in that last game, there was an example of what can happen if you want to play slow and draft unconventionally all in one basket. And I think that if Legacy want to do the opposite of what they did last time they played Chiefs, which was just go really aggressive and hard early, I think we'll see everything removed and they'll go back to, standard for them.
And I'm wondering whether this is the first game that we see Center Time change. Because I keep mentioning it today, but globally it's just removed. The champions do not exist in League of Legends. It was banned first 2 games, ignored game 3 when Lulu Cog was taken, I want to have a word with some of those coaches. And that duo lane could be instrumental.
It was picked once in the LPL and a hard one.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, can it hard win again for the last day, for the last game of the day and the weekend? We'll find out as we jump into the Max Champs League. And before we go, Lothi put Pabu's tweet in the chat, so go there and give him a pity like. All right, roll it.
It's the final game of Week 7, and boy, is it a big one to finish on as the Chiefs take on Legacy for the rematch. For the revenge potentially here for Legacy as they go for the OPL Classico up against their fierce rivals at the top of the table.
And already we see no center ban on the blue side. Set as well as Aphelios taken away by the Legacy lineup. And they will ban Akali.
Instantly, Senna gets locked in the first time we've seen it.
And now this is interesting, right? Because Korea CK does play it really well in the support position, in my opinion. Katsuri has played it as a traditional marksman. And then you have the weird funnel coming across. So anything is possible right now. All three gameplay styles are still open. And immediately Legacy lock in the Scion, which just screams, lane swap, lane swap, lane swap, lane swap, lane swap.
Just continuously move the mic further away as you go out here. And come back in.
That's a better way to do it. I like that.
You make it happen. Double tanks locked in here for Legacy.
What did I say? Just standard. Legacy shenanigans. We'll play the tanky lineups. But does not look like it is going to stop the game plan coming out of the Chiefs. Can you dive a Scion? You don't like to. Can Tahm Kench do it? I think a farming Tahm can.
Yeah. We saw how strong they got when they played up against the Divals of this composition. It was pretty scary.
And then, unfortunately, Misfortune just strutted around Summoner's Rift like...
Yeah, it was gross.
No one else can say what I'm doing, but that was a good Misfortune impression. Come
Honestly, if you had the guns as well, that's when we get one of those like highlight montage reels of the camera. So we're showing what the casters are up to. Replace these players.
Third tank?
Big Cho.
Okay.
Is there a world, Spawn, in which we have a funnel Cho ADC bot?
No. This is a direct counter to LeBlanc in the mid lane. LeBlanc just does not do enough damage to deal with Cho'Gath after level 6. He's going to get like 1 billion free health or something from his ultimate. I think that's the exact number. And Cho'Gath is... We always talk about this, right? So I don't know how much League of Legends you played at the very start of League of Legends. But there was this archetype of champion that were like zone champions. Old Vega with the instant cage. Old Anivia, right? With the wall and the big glacial storm.
Sure.
Cho'Gath with his rupture and his damn silence. He's just a control champion. And what that means is if you enter his zone, he's really strong. And if you don't, he's like a steamy poo. So LeBlanc has to enter his zone to do damage.
Sure.
And she has to stay there. So you hit her with a silence, you hit her with a knockup, one auto attack and a chomp, she probably dies after one item. So that means that Claire's playstyle has to be significantly different against Tally's Cho.
AP Cho would be pretty scary, that's to say the least. And now Raze is going to flex between all the different kind of AD carries. That's not one, although it was if you're talking about old school. Not anymore. Vayne taken away, so a heavy priority towards banning out AD carries. Pretty much, let's fully target Raze. You deny away 1 HP Shredder, 1 hard engage, and 1 late game power spike. Well, here's another one.
So I think what they did is they got rid of one of Thien's top lane champions in the Vayne.
Yep.
So I think these are both split pushes that they don't want the tanks to have to deal with, right?
Sure, sure.
So they want to keep this a ball comp. So does Thien have another split pushing top lane tank shredder? I'm going to say as the Aatrox hover comes across, no. So pressure on Croc. The man that they turn to when all hope is lost.
But yeah, absolute standout performance. Obviously, dating it back, he played in Italy. He was able to get an absurd lead and basically bring the boys with him.
He doesn't
for
look
the
happy
ride.
about that pick.
No.
I would be surprised if it got locked in, because that was a look of resignation, I think would be the way I'd describe it.
He's been given his orders, and he flexes
Did
at the
you see
last
that?
second.
The coach left, and then all of a sudden, quick,
Yeah.
Seal's gone, Seal's gone.
He's gone. Lock it in, Lee Sin, let's carry.
Okay, so very clear who's been script partners this week. Apparently, Chiefs have been playing against the Avant Gaming lineup. Sorry, Legacy have been playing against the Avant Gaming lineup, because we see the second iteration of Lulu Cog coming across, and then big, beefy front line. This time around, the front line is like going to be oppressive.
You've got the protection. This is a full protect the cold ball comp.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a 2v2 lane, however, or whether it is a lane swap. Aatrox in a straight up 1v1 will destroy Sion. Like, it will not even be close. This is a hugely winning lane for Thien. I also think can be winning jungle matchup if you were a great Lee Sin, but Jarvan right now is just the most consistent jungler in the competitive meta. With the Cinderhulk build, like, it doesn't really feel like he's weak at any stage of the game. Kind of good from even level 1s through all the way. Shogath obviously winning lane, and I think bottom lane, I've never seen it. I'm going to call it for, if it is a straight 2v2, I would call it in Chiefs' favor. So I think that right now, kind of have a better early to like 2-item spike for the Chiefs lineup. But if it gets past that, if this gets into 3-item territory, if you get triple tank with 3-item, plus Kog'Maw, plus Lulu.
Well, there's a stat.
I don't know if there's a comp in the game that scales this drop.
There's a stat that's actually super interesting. I looked at the Legacy versus Gravitas matchup, and you know, beforehand, Eminem is about 30% of the team's damage. Ray's about 50% as well. Last week, when they went up against Gravitas, Ray's did 45% of the team's damage. So there's an idea in my mind thinking, let's just go a protect the Kog'Maw comp and hope that this man can go for the 1v9 that we've highlighted in the past.
In saying that, Tally has an incredibly high DPM as well. I think that's more because Babip and Topoon fell off in last week's damage stats, because I was checking them as well. I don't think that necessarily means that they shouldn't play around Tally, but I do agree. This comp looks like it is specifically designed for Raze to carry the game.
Welcome, Jensen, as always, for the final game of the day. Now, bring me through this one a little bit. So obviously we had the shenanigans, the crazy aggressiveness of the last OPL Classico. The analysts themselves thought we might see a little bit more standard coming into this one. It does still look a little bit quirky. Bring me through it.
Well, I think this is the post-MNS legacy that we're looking at, and I think the analysis that you guys had in terms of where's the damage share coming true, it's partially true because we are a team that's effectively starting from week 1 once again, right? Most of these teams, they've been preparing things. We play against Pentanet, they're well drilled. They know what their team identity is and they know how they want to play. We were coming in 2 days before the games last weekend. We didn't even know who our mid laner was going to be. Now that we have Tally coming in, we're trying to figure out, okay, what is your champion pool? How do we play around you? Who are going to be the core carries on this team? And I think that resulted in a very unfortunate draft when we went up against Pentanet, because some of the players are still used to having MNS being this very strong split push assassin player in the mid lane, and we weren't ready to adapt to Tally, who's a more stable type of top laner transitioning to the mid lane.
So how have you found it working with Tally so far, and how do you think he is integrating into the team?
I think that this is everything that we were looking for. Tally is a very positive person. He comes in here, he brings a certain energy to his team. Coaching him has been a pleasure, mostly. And I think that he's somebody who's working hard, and he's willing to explore ideas and open up his champion pool as a top laner. Some people say that he has a small champion pool, but what I say is that he has a different champion pool.
And last time you guys played the Chiefs, it was a really hyped up matchup. It looked like you guys tried to fight a little bit of fire with fire in the early game. Legacy's strength this split seems to be how well they play in the latter stages of the game. This comp seems to be much more suited towards that. Was that a deliberate choice going up against an early game team like the Chiefs?
That is, I'd say it's about 80% there. You've nailed it mostly on the head. So this is us looking at the way Chiefs play and saying that, okay, we can exploit certain portions of the champion pool with the certain picks. And that's why you see the Son coming in early, because we feel that this is Clarice a player. What's he going to play? He's going to play Diana and stuff like that. And Son can be flexed for us in 3 ways, possibly even 4.
Now, my final question to you before we go, Jensen, knowing that Croc and Claire have some very aggressive picks in that mid-jungle, how do you look to try and stem the bleeding so your tanks can really get to that 2-3 item power spike to allow Kog'Maw just to be a monster?
This goes back to what I say. This is piano music, League of Legends. I'm going to give you the first 2 Drakes. You can have that. It's a freebie. But after that, once the Kog'Maw gets his items, we will be able to trade on the map to be able to get to the spikes and then take over the game from that point.
Beautiful. Well, I wish you the best of luck as we crack on with the final game of the day. It's the OPL Classico Chiefs taking on Legacy.
And already we see a big pushing lanes across the board for the Chiefs. So certainly Coach Jensen well and truly on the money with what his team needs to do. They need to be able to absorb this early game pressure. Already skirmish in the river. And you can see that Babbitt certainly got the memo about seeding objectives, because even the first of those scuttles not going to be contested whatsoever, Skimmy.
Don't be too concerned about that one right now, as TN's going to go for a very early rotation because they're finding priority in all 3 lanes. Very reminiscent of what we saw in the previous game.
And this is smart from TN. So I want to explain why this is smart. So Croc went buff to buff and pathed back down. That means he wants to be able to take away his Krug camp, recall, and then he'll be back in time for his Grom spawn, right? At the same time, if he goes for the second Rift Scuttle, it will help him out in his individual jungle matchup, but his Krugs will still be level 1. So obviously you want to be able to get maximum experience out of a jungle lead like this. So he instead instructs Thean, his top laner, hey, with your priority, just go take that. You know, I'm going to play away from you anyway, so you probably want the lane frozen up a little bit, look for a favorable recall instead. And we'll see how it goes from there. Thean, however, still aggressively trading in this lane. I think that was a risk, because you can see that right now Jarvan is on the correct side of the map, and Jarvan is great at skipping out on ward vision, Skimmy. So that could have been a situation where maybe Babbitt was there and could have looked for a trade kill.
And to change the tempo, I suppose, with the narrative a little bit, look at actually what Legacy have online. Triple teleports right now. So a lot of pressure to exert around this map if they want to keep those side lanes online, kind of like what Jensen mentioned, where, you know, they were very used to having somebody being very strong in those lanes to sort of always force a decision out of their opponent. Be interested to see how this works. And, you know, with Raze being this pushed up against the tower, conceding a lot of damage on this turret, might allow him to definitely stick around and fight for a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of highlighting exactly what you just said. It allows them to make a couple of mistakes in the laning phase. As long as you don't die, you can teleport back in. If Raze takes a bad trade, but Isles is still healthy, Isles can stay in lane, Raze can teleport back. And I mean, Tally already using it to pick himself up the Catalyst of the Ages, so now the trading is going to be very beneficial. Meanwhile, top lane.
Flash has to be used to ensure that the Aatrox route doesn't connect, because LeBlanc was hungry and hunting for that first blood.
And I always find this interesting. If you look at what Croc has just done, he really spent a lot of time trying to stabilize his top side before he went back to his camps. 2 trains of thoughts. If you have pushing lanes, they should be able to play self-sufficiently, and you should be able to play for your own lead as a jungler. Champions that you want to do that on are like the Karthuses, the Graves, the Kindreds, the Nidalees, right? But if you're playing something like a Lee Sin, that does really come online at this stage of the game, you need it to have impact on the laning phase. Already get the flash out of top earn, already control double Scuttle Crab. Like Croc doing a very good job of making his early game picks presence be felt on Summoner's Rift right now.
And with the Feast now online, as you saw him just go over to those chickens and devour it away with the Feast. As you say, yeah, he's going to get 1 billion health. It's going to be very hard for Claire to look for that one-shot electrocute all-in potential with the Ignite and obviously the jungle assistance.
And I like this already coming out of Babbitt. He's actually got some good control bottom side off the pressure that Tally was able to put out. Gets himself a Scuttle Crab. Now, you can see he's still down 2 camps. Certainly isn't the end of the storm, but that bottom side control is going to be really important. This gives the Cho'Gath a little bit more freedom to use his spells a little bit more liberally on the wave. You're going to be able to spot out a blue buff invade if it does come off the back of Career CK and Katsuru's priority. And maybe even allows Raze and Isles to start playing this lane a little bit more aggressive. See whether they're able to do so. I have my doubts about whether this Kog'Maw Lulu lane can look for aggressive windows. But this blue handoff right now is kind of what the result of that river pressure is. It's against the flow of the game, and I think it's going to be really important for Tally especially to be able to continue to farm up in this mid lane wave.
There's a boots rush, as we've seen from these majors coming out here from Claire.
Yeah.
Pretty imperative, right? Especially against a blue buff Cho'Gath to just dodge out all that CC has.
I was going to say, I'm kind of in 2 minds about this, because what they give you is like hella good kill threat. Like if you have yourself the early Sork boots or early Merc boots and you're able to dodge out on a couple of spells, they give you really good kill threat. However, to get kill threat on the block, you kind of have to be able to push and lead lanes and prey on the bottom lane where people are underleveled, or the jungle level, we're underleveled.
Sure.
And that's what Blue Book actually helps you do, right? It gives you the mana sustain to be able to push your lane, still have mana to go gank side lane. So I'm really in 2 minds. I'm not a mid laner, so I can't give you a great answer on it. I know in certain matchups, Harry prefers different things, but it is very interesting for me right now to see the mid lane does seem to very heavily favor going for this Boots rush. You know, we've even seen Boots Doran's ring picked up in this situation as opposed to something like a Mana Crystal.
Yep.
And that to me is very interesting.
He's definitely falling behind in CS a little bit at this stage. 12 behind, so it's a
Tien's
wave in a bit.
behind him here.
Tien is going to find that angle. Tribush is going to be watered on out, and Croc was hunting around, picks up the Drake, and turning his attention now towards that Rift Herald, so very objective mind.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really what he's been able to do early on in this game. We heard already that you don't want to contest objectives early with the Cho'Gath, with the Scion, even with the Tank Jarvan, really, in the one-on-one sense, right? So what have they done? They've secured themselves a lot of farm. Tally constantly walking through this mid lane, trying to generate an avenue of pressure to be able to get something happening.
Yeah.
And instead just said, okay, we're scaling. We're within 400 gold at this stage of the game. That's insane already for this Legacy lineup. The fact that, you know, this Kog'Maw has nearly the most gold on Summoner's Rift outside of Tally.
Yep.
Is a really good sign because we keep talking about it, but he is the win condition. This is a Protect the Kog'Maw comp. So Skimmy, right now, I would say Legacy are doing majority of the things that the coach has said in Champions League that he wants them to be able to do.
He's going to be very happy with how this game is playing on out so far. Now going to turn our attention to the top lane. Croc does have the Rift Herald online, does have the ultimate, does have the kick, and does have the execute. They're going to find that one for free. Tien not needing to burn anything except his World Ender.
And I mean, that's really well done because there is no ultimate available and there is no teleport available. So this should be a huge gold lead right now for Tien. And we said the way you upset these compositions is that you allow your split pushing top laner to come online. Babin might have made a mistake here.
Oh, Babin's in so much trouble. He walks it, and the center cannon from down low doesn't pick up the assist, but gifts Chiefs a second kill.
And once again, that's another assist. Claire stopping the rotation from Tally. This is going to be the whole top lane turret going across. And Tally might be solo killed.
Tally's looking for it, but top lane's going to get completely collapsed on the Rift Herald. Make sure of that. Ultimate wasn't online there for Tally, but you can see how much of a threat he is even without.
Yeah, you can see just walking himself back to that mid lane wave. Claire doing a good job of trying to pressure. Thea will also walk this Herald into the turret for maybe one more charge. And that means that wave will not be frozen at all. So he's going to be able to continue to farm on the top side. Next Dragon in 2 minutes, you would expect that once again to go across to the Chiefs Esports Club. But now a 2,000 gold lead in the top lane, Skimmy. And we're talking about how keeping the game even, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Not so even anymore.
What is a 3k gold lead acquired by both top and jungle right now? Chiefs have definitely found some love in that exchange, not only from the kills, but from the turrets and from the CS lead that has provided.
And I wonder what the Chiefs do now. Do they just keep the Scion in the long lane? That seems kind of dangerous. He's going up against a Black Cleaver, 30% cooldown reduction. Aatrox is nearly 2 levels above him at the moment. Can they actually lane swap? You don't really want Kog'Maw in a long lane. You don't want the Cho'Gath in a long lane. So kind of think this is going to be a rough, maybe 10 to 15 minute patch.
Yeah.
For the Legacy lineup. They said they wanted to see 2 dragons. I don't really see a world in which this top lane pressure doesn't give them more than that. Catch in the bottom lane River though, might.
This is going to be a nice little pickup, which they do find. It's going to be Isles that goes for the kill on, in this case, the support.
Yeah, but it's a really important kill on support. If there's no action here, we'll talk about why, right? When you're playing Protect the Kog'Maw, Lulu being accelerated helps Kog'Maw as much as Kog'Maw being accelerated.
Much like we saw last game, right?
Yeah.
You know, Ardent Sensor comes online, a Fiends, you're insane.
And this is just a really greedy play from Katsuri. He doesn't have his support player there, doesn't have his jungler there, doesn't have his mid laner there.
Yeah.
You need someone else to be able to clear wards with you. Just not counting people out of base well. I don't know what it is. There's a couple of little tips there for people that solo queue, but that's an ugly death, to call it that. But what I was going to say is, like, if you can get like a Redemption and an Ardent, or if you need to get out of crowd control, which maybe this game you can argue that you do.
Sure.
Something along those lines, then you are so much more beneficial to your Kog'Maw.
Sure.
Than maybe him having an extra recurve bow, right? So I think that, you know, there is a lot of value in Ludo getting some gold in this lane. He's going to get dope.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like that. Control ward is already there. Babip has the presence of mind, the game awareness to know.
They can't win the 2v1, I don't think.
He's going to show face to try and take away some of those, but Tien is just so damn strong at this state. Boots or no boots,
he can spam at that piano.
Yeah. Meanwhile, bottom lane is starting to go back in favor of Raze. So this is looking good right now for Legacy. Second Dragon will be given over, but that was the expected trade-off at this stage of the game. Bottom lane is starting to look a little bit more winning for this Lulu Cog. You can see Katsuri can't really step up anymore and trade for those souls.
This is interesting. Croc actually goes to a ward on towards the blue buff. Knows that there was a control ward that Katsuri tried to take up beforehand. He'll clear that for free. I was wondering if there was a world in which they look for a dive, but Babbitt, once again, being that supportive style jungler, always has the awareness to know where to respond to.
And once again, I think that the real game plan should have been to delay Tally getting these blue buffs that he's been able to grab back-to-back now. I think that that's actually made this laning phase like really difficult for Claire to be able to go toward. Now the collapse from Thien in the top lane will mean that Croc tries to get aggressive, but if your mid laner has 0 mana, which is the case, Skinny,
yeah,
don't look for those.
Little impact. It's going to force a recall out. Reset will take place here. And yeah, as you can see, small leaders now starting to be acquired here by Tally, around about 300 gold, so nothing major at this stage, but still it's really, how does Tapoon stick himself out without falling down another death in this incredibly long lane?
And we don't talk about it much because it's really hard to actually know whether it's true or not. But obviously I worked with Tally for 2 years, so a little bit more confidence in the statement. But he is incredibly smart about the game. He is one of those pro players that certainly mechanically is fine, but I think his real power is through like the veterans he has, how calm he can remain, but how smart he actually is about League of Legends. Like, he is like just incredibly switched on with multiple areas of the game. I think that he would love to play a laning phase like this, like the Cho'Gath into the LeBlanc. This isn't a skill check matchup. This isn't like Tally going to be able to run over it, but if he plays the laning phase well, he knows he can go up the 20 CS, which he's been able to. He's farming at the clock. He's the highest farm in the game. He's stolen away multiple chicken camps.
Yeah.
These are just all the things that, you know, as a wily veteran, you're probably laughing your way through Summoner's Rift so far. And you know that if you get 4 of these mountain dragons that are about to come up, you're going to be unkillable.
That is the dream, right? For a composition like this, to suddenly go away from the cloud rifts that we've had, to now have a mountain, you couldn't ask for a better soul for them to acquire.
And he's nearly got 3,000 health. Like, you can't do a 3,000 health burst combo on LeBlanc if you've got 6 items. That's just not going to happen, so...
Incredibly hard to gank as well. Obviously, Abyssal Mask online right now for the denial in the 1v1. Tabbies as well there in case Tien or Croc decide to try and turn that fight around.
Ooh, and I think this is a mistake. I think they're going to look to break top lane turret with this Herald, or at least with some pressure. And the reason I think that's a mistake is that mid lane is so important for late game objective control, and also to get Kog'Maw in a long lane. You want it to be able to be caught out of position, right? I think they could have got this turret without that Herald pressure. And whilst this goes further to helping Thien win the split, and Thien is certainly very strong right now.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it goes to actually shutting down what Legacy have building on the bottom side of Summoner's Rift, which is a very scary team fight.
Investing a fair amount of resources into this Aatrox to ensure that he can maybe find a desirable flank or make those flash plays. He's going to draw both junglers up here as well. But now we're starting to see some of those core components come online. Blade of the Rune King and Ardent Sensor are there, making it very desirable for those trades. You can see the reason is now they've actually switched priority. They're the ones actually going for the siege on the Chief's Tower.
Croc might be in some trouble here. Slow going to land. They won't go for it. Very disciplined play out of this Legacy lineup.
So much slower than what we saw in the game of old. We had level 1 dives, level 3 dives, teleports in. It was a complete calamity. The most kills we've had in the split so far.
And I would say that last game was really uncharacteristic of Legacy's Timmy, and
it was 44 kills in 34 minutes.
Yeah, it was just completely crazy. And I think that they tried to really go down to Chiefs level, and you can tell this time that they've put a lot of thought into how they want to approach this matchup.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, right, if you got Pentanet into the Chiefs, how much of your game plan do you really craft? Like, if you've got 25 scrims in a week or 20 scrims in a week, depending on whether you're doing night blocks, how much of those 20 games do you put into crafting a game plan for the number 5 team in the league that's won 3 games versus the number 1 team that's won 11 games or whatever they've won and looking very pretty on top of the ladder? I would argue you probably put more into the
Of course.
Chiefs game, as most teams would. And I think that their strategic game plan certainly looks much more sound against the Chiefs than it did against Pentanet earlier today.
And I think you'd also follow up that argument, you know, going back to my point before we got into the game, right, as to it's almost the perfect segue for them to go up against Pentanet, have that kind of slow, methodical macro play, and then go, right, what we've got in mind, what we prepared all week, we've been able to sort of see a glimpse on the opposition side. Not that you can just completely change the script within a 1-2 hour block, but
It can certainly allow you to go further down that route. I think if you're already saying, you know what, we can play, you know, Scion, Kog'Maw, Lulu, all of a sudden you play a 40-minute game, you know, you say, all right, let's just throw a Cho'Gath as opposed to a Syndra in the composition, right?
Sure.
Let's go all in on the late game. It seems to be working
let's
right
commit.
now. I don't think they said after, you know, the Avant game, hell yeah, let's prioritize Kog'Maw Lulu. I think they would have at least put some effort into that composition.
Absolutely.
But they've given over the third dragon, and they didn't actually get a meaningful trade for it, Skimmy. So this is the stage of the game that you do have to start worrying a little bit for the Legacy lineup. We said they navigated the early game well. I still think they have. They got their Kog'Maw to nearly 2 items at this stage. No significant deficit anywhere else but the top lane. And Scion can overcome a lot of those deficits through his natural scaling of the W passive with his health. But I feel like they need a team fight, or at least a skirmish victory in the next couple of minutes to maybe bump this Kog'Maw into the 2.5 item range, where he can start dealing with the likes of the Aatrox or the LeBlanc, because otherwise he's probably in 1-hit range, given how the current state of the game is.
Yeah, Tien is incredibly strong right now. Completed boots, second major item online with a Death Start, so it's going to be quite hard to try and take him down. Incredible innate lifesteal, obviously, but having that much cooldown reduction at your disposal can be very scary as long as he's got that flash online.
Yeah, and this is kind of the change that happened to Aatrox. Like, he was really oppressive when he got full healing off creeps, because he would do this. He would just sit at your turret, full health the entire time, and just, even though he's not winning those trades by enough, 10 of those happen in a row over the course of a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden you're at like half health and he's not all that enjoying, although Topoon seems to be having a bit of a dance right now. I like that.
Topoon's used to these situations, right? You know, when he's been resigned to these champions like Soraka, not afraid to fall down a few CS for the betterment of his team.
Croc going very low there, Skimmy. So you can see that there is a little bit of fight in this Legacy lineup right now. They are strong enough, especially if Thien is on the opposite side of Summoner's Rift to take the other 4.
Yeah. It's definitely that shot calling perspective, right, to understand what can we give up and what do we need to contest, and what timing do we have until we need to just bite the bullet and say enough is enough, we've got to go now.
Yeah, and I really am intrigued by this game now. This is starting to really pique my curiosity, because the area of the Chiefs that I thought would be bad over the off-season was their shot calling and decision making. Like, who was the shot caller on this team? You know, who has that veteran status that we keep talking about?
Yeah.
On Legacy, you can point to people like Raze, Tally, you know, even Topoon and Babip. They won a championship last year. They know what it takes. When you look at Legacy, Katsuri, very young player. Thien, very young player. Korea CK and Croc. You know, language barrier probably holding them back from taking over what they would like to on this team, despite having someone like Seal being able to interpret for it.
Yep.
And now your young hothead, like Thien certainly plays the game at a breakneck speed, is the person with your gold lead. You are relying on him to win and be able to buck the trend of the slow game. Now last year he was able to do it on picks like the Riven, but on less explosive picks, and Aatrox is certainly less explosive than the Riven, is he actually going to be able to take over and, you know, push the tempo of this game forward?
And I feel like, in a way, Croc had no other choice, right? You highlighted that, you know, can we try and break open mid, but mid was incredibly hard for them to defeat. Bottom lane was left as an island because they're doing their own little shenanigans down there. Top lane seemed like, well, let's just try and win harder and harder, and then hope that, you know, the fact that we have such a massive lead, 60 CS and more, it accounts for something, given that we're up by 3 Drakes. Next one spawning in 90 seconds. Baron is always online, and we've got this vision down pat. Can we try and make this, you know, mid-game, major deciding team fight, given it's only been 3 in 22 minutes? Can we find something meaningful that really shuts down any kind of scaling component?
And I'll be interested to see if they can. However, they've caught out Babip here.
They have. Babip's just going to go instantly for that Cataclysm. Going to receive the wild growth out of Lunu right now. It's going to be Croc that's sitting in the back line, looking to try and stick around, but he's going to be really the first one to fall on down. Blast Cone knocking everybody all over the show. 2 Legacy with their first sign of a skirmish, and they take those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see that they expended a lot to be able to get in there. However, they do pick up the solo kill, and it is going to be on Jungle off the back of this mid lane priority. They should be able to get themselves the Drake. And that means that they have stopped the Soul Point. They have stopped that steamroll from happening.
Yeah.
Still 10 seconds left on Croc. And I would be very intrigued to see if Chiefs try and throw caution to the wind and contest this one. I am so surprised that Legacy have just not beeline towards that Dragon. I feel like that was a must pick up off the back end of that.
Still trying to establish control in this mid lane right now, and Ray's playing very far forward. He has the Wit's End online for that extra magic resist, extra movement speed. A hybrid Zeal item, if you will. Teleport's now coming on in. That's going to be Tapoon to join the fight. Drake online, Croc respawning. He's definitely in range.
Croc here, and they have vision of him. So Legacy, instead of taking the 4v5, wait for everyone to be back online. Croc is now over into the pit.
Be a tough one to try and deny away because they have Feast and Smite, but let's look at that for a second. Raze gets exhausted, but the shutdown into Aatrox.
Raze
the
is
one
alive.
with all the gold. Raze is still living. Isles is still there as well. They need to back up. He needs to get some lifesteal. He's trying to heal off the minion wave right now, and Tally is just bullying people. The front line doing so much work that bottom can just disengage and no one can reach them, Spawn.
And again, the perfect player lives up to his name. Just able to kite it out masterfully, Skimmy. And they might just go towards the Baron. They shred it so quickly, everyone is still alive. Legacy have just flipped the switch on this game.
They just picked a quad. They were down by 3 to 4k gold, and now we're in touching distance.
And this looked beautiful, right? Croc gets in the pit, you're wondering what he's doing, but he's causing them to group. Raze goes so incredibly low, but he gets all of the assistance he needs, and the layering of CC is just beautiful. That means he lives on sub 100 health, but the shields are just still coming across, and no one can get in range of him. It is a brutally short range game, and it's back in the pit.
There. We're back into it. Tally has the feast. He's going to feast the Baron. He's going to take for the team and get knocked away by Lee Sin. Thank you very much for the survival kit, he says to that one. The rest of Chiefs disengaged. They're hiding away and they're recalling. And it's going to be Korea CK, incredibly tanky as he is, to try and stick around. Tapoon on the flank and Tally TPing in. Legacy have just suddenly turned this tempo up from 2 to 1. Now they've just picked up 6 successive kills.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this game is nearly unplayable for the Chiefs Esports Club now. You're going to see him go back, pick up the majority of his third item. The front line is huge, and Tapoon's itemization, masterful. Goes for the locket, knows that he's there to play second support. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Night's Vow come across either. And this is with the carries getting in the pit. You can see Tally goes so dangerously low, but he knows as soon as it gets below that 700 mark, he is the smite that his team needs, coordinates it well with his jungler. And unfortunately, you just cannot escape the inevitability that is this tanky frontline chasing you down.
And it's so incredibly frustrating for Tien because he's getting silenced, he's getting knocked up again. He's only able to rotate between maybe 1 or 2 spells before he is literally a non-factor. So that CS lead is achieved. Suddenly Tapoon is like, you can have that CS because I'm back in the race.
And you can see Tien has to pop the World Ender to run away. Meanwhile, Team Chiefs are trying to push straight down this mid lane. They don't have the Baron buff, however, and you can see that members still rotating across. Tapoon too tanky to dive, and they will lose this race ultimately against the Baron buff, so they have to back away.
Yeah, Legacy not going to really care about that one because they have their eyes set on bottom lane.
And this is really interesting. You wonder why they split pushing into Tien's lane. Well, Tien's still the strongest member on Summoner's Rift for the Chiefs, and you don't want him to be able to flank you. So the easiest way to prevent that is just run into his lane and force him to go all the way back to his base. Now, no flank going to be available outside of a cheeky TP, and that's on cooldown still.
And a nice little rotate through the mid.
Oh, look how much damage this Demolish is going to do. Get up there and whack it. It's just a beautiful champion. And you have to really respect with how Legacy have played this game. They really were able to absorb so much of the pressure that came out of the Chiefs early. And that's saying something. Chiefs are by far and away the best early game team in the OPL right now. They gave them 3 Drakes, they gave them 2 Rev Heralds, they gave them 2 top lane turrets. Now they're looking for the engage.
They want to make something happen. Abyssal Void to start things off. Then Polymorph comes on out. Raze is standing stall. For the meantime, Exhaust gets used as well, but he's still living. He frontlines, but Katsuri is the one that the pass was looking to try and take on that, and it's not going to be enough to kill him. Isles is very low, but he's sticking around for a bit of time. Claire is there, and they're going to find the kills, but they've got to go through so many tanks to try and hit these members. And when you stack up like this, stuns, silences, you name it, they are there. Bit of a disaster right now, and Tally is just flash forwarding. It's a battle of the bruises.
He's gonna kill him. What is going on? What a fiesta. Everything is used there to kill Raze.
How do you even commentate at that stage? It's literally 5 people standing on one spot, clubbing each other to death.
And he falls down, right? So that is technically mission accomplished for the Chiefs. They get rid of the Baron buffs, they make sure the base isn't broken. But at the same time, you just see how strong this Legacy comp is. You give them another Mountain Drake, which is spawning in a couple of seconds, and that teamfight looks probably even worse.
I mean, with the amount of resistances they have online right now, it becomes scary.
Yeah, I mean, this is a smart way to start the fight. Get the exhaust down onto Raze, makes sure he can't run away. And they were able to get probably the maximum amount of CC that they're ever going to get onto the Cogmore. However, Isles living over this wall for so long, getting multiple rotations of spells and shields out. And then just, as you mentioned, the bouncy castle is making it near impossible for any form of good team fight to take place. And I think this is where they lost it, when Thien and Katsuri split. Because I want to talk about it, but Senna almost is like Sona in the Sona Tahm-Kench combo. She's not there for the damage. She's just there to continually top people up.
Yeah.
Have great utility through the, invisibility. Hold the thought.
It's just, it's never ending. This spot right here is a cursed spot. They want to force this fight. They've got their attention turned towards Isles. They realize that he is such a catalyst of this success. He's going to burn the Wild Growth on himself, but Babbitt picks up the kill on the jungle counterpart. Tien is forced to disengage, and this is the worst time for it to happen because once again, another Mountain Drake can be achieved.
This is so funny. Like, honestly, just watching this game transpire, trying to stop someone from getting a second Mountain Drake because it might be game-breaking, does not happen at the moment in League of Legends, Skimmy. Tanks, they're supposed to be an extinct feature.
What is this? Tally 4-0-6.
Yeah, having a terrific game. Teleport's coming in bottom lane. Thien, you gotta run. The skeleton puppy is coming for you with a couple of tank friends.
Every angle is covered right now. Members are chasing on through. They're going to open up with the polymorph. It's going to slow down. As Babbitt comes on Ooze. It's going to be almost like the maze run, the adventure race.
He's nearly made it back to the team, to be honest.
But he is incredibly tanky, not to forget how many items he has online. Burns out the flash, dashes to his team, burning out multiple resources from the team to chase him on forward with.
What can you even do?
Baron is up in less than a minute.
It looks doomed. Like, that is such it's such a demoralizing play. He's gone for the tankiest build possible as well. He's got himself an adaptive health.
Yep.
I would have liked it to be maybe a Spirit Visage so he could get some more health back. Katsuri now, you're in trouble.
He's very much in trouble. Once this mist expires, it's not even necessary. The damage is just out of control. Knight's Vow, Locket of Solari. Everything is there to make sure that this Cogmore survives. It is your Protect the Cogmore comp, and it's hit that stage.
But it's not even just Protect the Cogmore. Tally at the moment has, what, 5,500 health with a stone plate?
He is literally unstoppable.
He's ultimate. He's about to buy a Warmogs as well.
How do you get this man out of the game?
His ultimate does like over 1,000 damage at the moment. Not to mention the fact that he's got an Abyssal Mask helps out Raze's damage. Makes him much more difficult to deal with. He's very tall. How many lines can you count there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nearly 7,000 health? Is that right? Every big line is 1,000 health.
Yeah, he's definitely close to 7,000.
Yeah, all right, cool. Well, good luck killing him. You don't have a tank shredder on your lineup.
Double Black Cleaver, but that ensures that you have optimum uptime on it. We haven't seen that so far. Lethality.
Not going to do
Void
anything.
Staff, it's just not going to be enough.
Void Staff's a good pickup. Lethality kind of sucks into this composition, truth be told. But what else can you really build on center support? Not much.
I mean, it's rough. You know, Claire's definitely not going to be able to find that 7,000 damage one-shot, right? So,
yeah.
Cogmore was able to hold his own in this laning phase, and as we transition to the 30-minute mark, he's now finding himself a 100 CS difference over this. Big Tahm-Kench receives the assistance. but that's the knock-up. That's what a Cho'Gath can do.
Yeah, I mean, what is poor old Chiefs to do at this stage of the game? They're trying to split push, but Legacy just group up, barrel down. All of a sudden, recalls must be channeled. This might be it. This might be the game.
It's looking like it right now as the first inhibitor falls on down. They're working towards that Nexus turret. Sion's going to join the party, but those turrets will fall on down swiftly. Members of Recalls, this may be the final fight. Now, what are we looking for? Keep an eye on the positioning of Raze. Receives the wild growth very early on and flashes aggressively forward to try and take out Croc. Minions in middle have just destroyed that turret too. They're working towards a second inhibitor, but it's not enough focus. Katsuri is gone. Systematically, one by one, they take down these members of the Chiefs. The Nexus is now finally exposed, and they just do not have enough damage, enough avenues to get these kills. A consolation in taking down the Lulu. But this Nexus will finally fall on down as they just once again have a brawl with the Bruisers. And the OPL Classico will, as this Nexus falls on down, this time be green.
What a fun game. See, this is what League of Legends is all about. Giving over the strongest combination in League of Legends at the moment, but having a planned out response. What do they do well? They push. They have early game pressure. They keep their bruisers alive. Okay, let's go with tanks and hyper scaling. Let's ride out the early game wave. The average game time is like 30 minutes at the moment. Let's make the game go for at least 40 minutes and see if we can pick up that victory. Legacy tick all the boxes. Coaches and staff right now should be so stoked with their players because they just played a very good game of League of Legends.
Definitely changed up the script as to how they wanted to take this matchup against Chiefs, and once it hit that window, right, it definitely became an unplayable situation for their opponents. So it's one-on-one now between these two esteemed organizations, and you know, Legacy have to be pretty happy about that one. Maybe people go, whoa, it's a one-on-one week. What happened about PGG? Well, they sit themselves still at the top of the table as the Titans duel it out. But let's chuck it back to the couch for one final time this weekend. Back to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Skimmy. One apiece now for the OPL Classico teams. Obviously, Chiefs taking out the first one. Legacy coming back in that one for round two and ending their evening on a high note.
Yeah, and a lot of it would be owing to the draft as well, with it being, you know, coming back into the game. They've gone for the Kog'Maw Lulu the second time we've seen it today, and you know, the later the game goes, the easier it is to be a Kog'Maw and a Lulu into the tanks that stand in front of you. So good experience for them as the game went on.
Good experience, Tally?
So fun.
Is it good to be back in the Classico?
Well, it's not even really a Classico anymore. I think I'm the only standing original Legacy Chiefs member in that game.
Yeah, right. So before they were just pretending.
Yeah, it's just for the viewers.
Which is funny, we were talking about this upstairs. You're actually about 2 months after the original, but you were still the first Legacy Chiefs Classico.
Yes.
Right?
I wasn't on the original roster.
Yeah, which was like June 2014, to be fair. So I wouldn't expect you to. Let's talk about you for a second, though. You got the Cho'Gath. Where'd that come from?
So we had a game plan coming in that, like, if they're gonna pick like such a weak bot lane in like center time that they lack so much damage, and if we just pick like all this front line and they tend to play like mages mid, which is a really good matchup for Cho'Gath, that we can just scale and pick really greedy champions and just crush them as soon as we hit 2 items.
And we saw the Syndra from you as well today. So this is a reinvented Tally in the mid lane. Was this something that you've been practicing all the mid champions this week? Because I wasn't sure if we were just going to see top laners down mid the whole time.
I think most of the champs I'm playing mid right now are stuff I've played in the past. Like, I've played Victor top a lot before, and when I play bot lane solo queue, I tend to play lots of Syndra. So I'm comfortable on these champions already. And then also, since there's so many like top lane flex picks that I can just play mid, it's not really such a foreign role to me.
I don't want to rain on your parade because you beat the Chiefs victory.
Yes.
What happened in game 2?
Game 1?
Oh, game 1 for
Yeah.
you. Game 2 for the day.
I'd say I guess we were like too scared because it's like LeBlanc Lee sent such like a strong mid 2v2, and as soon as we like died in that 1 2v2 mid, that we were too, like, even because I think when we hit 6, like, it's just like one-sided matchup for us. But I think we were too scared. We conceded too much. They got like Dragon Souls, and when we were strong to fight, we messed up. Like, Quinn got caught and he died, so we could never like get back into the game because we missed our spike.
And what kind of effect did that have on you guys, obviously heading into a game with your second game for the day that had way more stakes in terms of the standings? How did you guys gird your loins for Game 4?
It wasn't that much of a big deal because we prepare for both teams differently, and we have different days where like we discuss what our plans were. And as soon as the Pentanet game finished, we were like onto the like Chiefs and
Just let it go.
yeah, it's because like sitting on it doesn't really help anyone, and we can talk about it like tomorrow or the next day when we actually want to review.
Fantastic. That's such a healthy life attitude as well. Yeah. Also, I noticed you're growing facial hair.
Well, I'm not really.
No.
I've just moved away from the razor and onto the clippers, and like the clippers don't really like get rid of everything.
That short.
Yeah. So it just like it's just growing a bit right now.
Okay, cool. Well, I look forward to keeping constant and very close track of that. Speaking of keeping track, let's take a look at the results from today. Here we go. Direwolves taking down Avant in game number 1. Avant not just cannot catch a break. Then game 2, Pentanet.gg versus Legacy. Pentanet with the surprise win there. Avant come roaring back for game 3 against Gravitas, and they caught a break. That's where they caught it. And then finally, Legacy taking down Chiefs as the battle for the top 3, let's say, is really, really heating up. So well done to Legacy there. As we mentioned, there will be no games tomorrow. There won't be a broadcast tomorrow due to the ongoing health situation. A reminder to just keep an eye on Riot's social media. There will be an official statement as soon as there's more information about when those games will be played, and we'll be happy to share that with you and see you guys then. A massive thank you to our sponsor, McDonald's. Thank you very much for helping make all of this happen. And what something else that's happening? Oh, what?
Anime?
Well, yeah, I thought you were going to say MPL, and I was like, no, anime, but you got it.
Anime.
Because you like League of Legends, so therefore you like anime. You like anime as well.
Big fan.
It's just like the rules, right?
The rules of what?
The rules of being a professional. Is there a pro player that doesn't like anime?
There's a lot,
Really?
but it's very common that if you play video games that you watch anime.
Okay, well, there you go. If you play video games, you watch anime, you then play video games so you can make anime. I think that works as well. We're running an anime competition. Just send in your anime pictures using the hashtag OPLAnime to Riot Socials on Twitter or Facebook. You can win yourself the Black Frost Champion skins. Very cool new skins, and obviously if you don't already have the champion, then you get the champion as well. Send in your skin before midnight tonight to be eligible for this week's competition. Normally we would show those winners on tomorrow's broadcast. Tomorrow's broadcast is not happening, so keep glued to Riot Socials and they will be announced there instead. We are done for the OPL this week, but we are not done with the MPL. It's about to get started, so stick around and we'll see you in a minute.
Try and deny away because they have Feast and Smite, but let's look at that for a second. Raze gets exhausted, but the shutdown into Aatrox. Raze the one with all the gold. Raze is still living. Isles is still there as well. They need to back up. He needs to get some lifesteal. He's trying to heal off the minion wave right now, and Tally is just pulling people back into it. Tally has the feast. He's going to feast the Baron. He's going to take for the team and get knocked away by Lee Sin. Stuns, silences, you name it, they are there. Bit of a disaster right now, and Tally is just flash forwarding. It's a battle of the bruises.
He's going to kill him. What is going on?
One by one, they take down these members of the Chiefs. The Nexus is now finally exposed, and they just do not have enough damage, enough avenues to get these kills. A consolation in taking down the Lulu. But this Nexus will finally fall on down as they just once again have a brawl with the bruisers. And the OPL Classico will, as this Nexus falls on down, this time be green.
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.